Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to cover the updates to Market Net Flow and a new complementary feature to Market Net Flow called Flowline. Before we get started, I'll leave several referral links for trading services I use in the description, including TradingView, Rocket Scooter, and TradingView that will give us both discounts. Lastly, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like and subscribe to help me grow this channel. With all that being said, let's get right into it. Starting out, I've already covered Market Net Flow in great detail in several videos, including a complete guide to Market Net Flow. However, right after I released that video, of course, TradingView, which they always do, they're constantly releasing new features, which is one thing I love about them. They added some new features to Market Net Flow. So I wanted to cover one of my favorite ones, which is Time Frame Continuity, or TFC. And in my past videos, if you've seen that, you'll notice that oftentimes I'm flipping between expirations. So I'm looking at the 7-day, the 15-day, the 30-day, as well as the default view to make trading decisions. And oftentimes when those aren't in line with each other, when there's no continuity between them, we see a lot of chop on SPY. Sometimes the 7-day can sort of override the rest, depending on how aggressive it is, but more often than not, we have a chop day, and it's easier, especially for beginner traders, just to maybe stay out of the market. So there's this new indicator here that shows us at all times if these time frames are in line. And so when this indicator is lit up, when it's showing green, it means that they're all in line with each other. So you don't even have to flip back and forth. You can just look at the default view and you'll know right away if the 7, 15, and 30-day are all in line with the default view, meaning that net calls are above net puts, or net puts are above net calls, whatever it might be. So that's really handy because it makes sure that you don't have to flip around as often. And there's another tool I'm going to cover shortly that also can help with that. And then the other thing I want to cover is this new button. So below, I covered what momentum was in a previous video. I won't get into that here. But if you don't really find yourself using momentum, and I'm someone that personally doesn't use it for most of my trades, I use the rest of the data displayed here for my trades, you can actually instead flip that to be show convergence. Now, convergence, divergence, I've talked about this in my previous videos, but divergence is when SPY's price is deviating from what net flow is showing us, and convergence therefore means it shows us when SPY's price is going with what net flow is showing us. So you'll notice here when we had calls above net puts, we would expect to see SPY's price moving up. However, for this period of time, SPY's price was moving down, so it was diverging. And you can see, based on these lines here, not only was SPY's price diverging, but how much divergence we were experiencing. And so when we see divergence, it could mean a couple things. It could mean that we might see the trend start to reverse. However, in this case, because calls continue to rise and puts continue to drop, that's unlikely. So it really just means stay out until we start to see convergence, which you can see happens here. SPY's price goes in line with what market net flow is showing us, and this would be a great entry point. And so this convergence divergence tool, just really, if you're not used to looking for divergence yourself, it's a very powerful way of looking at the market for many different indicators. But in this case, if you're newer to trading, or you're just not good at spotting divergence, now you can actually see it right on market net flow's chart, and it's just such a powerful tool for taking entries and exits. I prefer it over momentum, so I run my market net flow with convergence turned on instead of momentum. So those are two new features I want to cover, and then I want to get into a very exciting feature called Flowline. So on the left menu under Flow, if we go to Flowline, I'm actually just gonna blow away everything here and just show you how I have it set up and why I have it set up this way. And let me refresh. And there's many different ways you can set this up. I'm just showing one way that I like to set it up. You could also maybe add in UVXY, which would be VIX or whatever it might be, but we can see multiple net flows in one place now, including different time frames. So if we look here, I'm just gonna go over to my bookmarks and go to trading and go to S&P 500 and pull up the S&P 500 data, because what I want to look at is what the top holdings in the S&P 500 are. So if we go here, we can see we have Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, and Google. So I'm just going to take the top 4 because those have the most weight in how the S&P 500 moves, and we're going to add them to this flow line. And also, since in this case I'm going to be using it for day trading, I'm going to try to stick to smaller time frames, and I'm going to start from bottom up, and I'll show you why in a second. So the first one I'm going to add in is Tesla, and I'm going to do it for 1 day cumulative history, and I want to see 15 days, so options expiring within 15 days. And we can see based on this data, Tesla actually was bearish, and the whole day it diverged from what NetFlow was showing us, which is interesting, which could be a good sign for actual like taking Tesla puts tomorrow. But I don't want to get into that here. So let's add in Amazon, and we'll do the same thing. 1 day cumulative, 15 days till expiration. Again, if you're not familiar with what I'm putting in here, definitely check out my market net flow guide because I cover all of this stuff. Next, we'll add in Microsoft, and we'll do the same thing. And then you can see Microsoft was bearish. And what's interesting is if you paid attention to market net flow on the previous page, SPY was very bullish today. Microsoft was bullish today. However, Amazon and Tesla had bearish flow, but had bullish price action. So that tells us that Microsoft, as one of the bigger holdings, was helping drive SPY higher today. It was one of the holdings that played a part in that, and that's why I'm adding these, because I want to look at what the biggest holdings in SPY are doing for the shorter term expirations and just help get an idea of the underlying holding strength. And so now I could just go through and add all of the top holdings here, but just because I don't want to have to flip around too many pages. Now, if you have multiple monitors, I highly recommend setting up Flowline to look at the holdings and then just have market net flow on a separate monitor so you can keep it in view. But if you don't have multiple monitors, what you can do here is you can type market 1 day cumulative, leave off the filter, and so now we'll have it unfiltered, so we're showing all expirations. And then we can do market 1 day cumulative, and we'll do 30 days. We can add that in as well. We can do market 1 day cumulative 15 days. And then lastly, we'll do market 1 day cumulative 7 days. And now what we have here is we have all of so instead of having to use that TFC tool I showed earlier, we have all the flows showed here. So right now we can see if they're all in line with the time frame convergence is all in line, which it basically was. And when that happened, when they all went in line today and calls started breaking away from puts, we can see that's really when SPY started to rally, which was a great entry point. You could have essentially held all day. But then also you can just scroll down and you can see if the underlying holdings are in line with that. And oftentimes the underlying holdings flow plays a part, along with overall market net flow, play a part with if SPY is going to break some major levels. So this is powerful stuff. Like I said, if you don't, feel free to put whatever you want in here. You could even just say, like, if you didn't want to do like the unfiltered market net flow, you could do UVXY and pop that flow in here so we could see what's happening on a ticker that tracks the VIX to see, because obviously we want to see that as bearish. If SPY is going up, we'd like to see UVXY going down, and we can track options on that, which you can't really do with the VIX. And you can drag these around to move them however you want, put them in at different times. And then if you ever want to jump into the options dashboard, you can even click this little icon here. That will pull up the options dashboard. Just make sure it's oftentimes, if you're looking for things, dealer positioning and things like that, it's oftentimes to look at SPY directly. However, keep in mind, we never wanted to use net flow on SPY directly because it shows too much hedging mechanics and can't be used to determine SPY's price in any meaningful way. But we can use it for any of these holdings that we're looking at to look at different net flow and factors with that, especially net historical premiums, whatever it might be. And then you could do the same thing for the stocks page as well. You can click this icon and we'll bring you to the stock summary page, which has a lot of nice tools to use, which I've covered in past videos. And so that is really it. So I just wanted to talk about the new Flowline tool and the market net flow features. Hopefully you find this helpful and exciting. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out on Twitter or Discord, and I'd be happy to help. Thanks for watching.